Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Luminous Human School. I'm Christy Sandino, and I'm here with Lindsay Davis.
Hello, my friends.
And today we want to talk about present moment awareness,
Mhm.
but specifically as it pertains to the thoughts that we're thinking.
Oh, yeah.
So, present moment awareness is a huge topic, and we want to break it down a little bit. So, just dialing into the thoughts that we're thinking because we're thinking thousands of thoughts a day. Our brains never stop.
Very
But
much.
within that, there's generally some greatest hits
Love that.
that we like to replay a lot.
Yeah. Habitual
Yeah.
criticisms.
So we want to start noticing what those are. Are they serving our highest good? Or are they pulling us down and telling us things? If they're negative, it's not true.
Yeah, that's what I
I
was gonna
can
say.
just
Like, are they true?
there's they can't be. We are beautiful, luminous beings of light living in human bodies.
Yeah,
We are infinite, and the essence of who we are is love.
that's so true. And I think so many of us really do struggle with critical thoughts that come in, and a lot of those probably formed when we were very young and weren't really able to filter them out or ask if they were true. We were just like, oh, okay, that's what I'm being told. I must be that way then. And then we start living these lives based on something that's not true and have these repetitive thoughts that aren't serving us and are, just like you said, like pulling our energy down and not supportive in our growth, and really are not true at all. Especially what you're saying is like we're these beautiful, luminous, incredible humans. And we've got this like mind sometimes it's just like, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you're not doing enough, you're whatever it is. And oh, that is heavy.
Yeah, and it can come down to thoughts that we take on that are like overarching stereotypes.
Mm,
Like, I don't know where I heard this or if I ever heard anyone actually say it to me, but somewhere there was this idea that I took on: girls aren't good at math. I
interesting.
heard that as a kid or took that on as a kid, like maybe boys are better at math than girls, and I feel like there is somewhat of a cultural stereotype around that. But for a
Interesting, because
long
I never
time,
I never
you
had
never got
that
that one.
one. And I always felt like I was good at math.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So for a long time as a kid, I thought I wasn't good at math. And as I got older, I started feeling like, but I really love numbers. I love numbers.
Yeah.
And when I started learning algebra, I was really good at algebra. And I started thinking, well, this isn't true
That's so
because I
interesting.
am good at math. But so that's interesting that you never heard that one and I did.
Yeah.
Somehow in my mind, I thought, oh, so many girls must have been told this or picked up on this message.
Mm.
So maybe they didn't. I don't know.
Yeah, hard to tell, right? And like I could have heard it, but just like not taking that like in as my truth. Could have taken some other, idea, limiting idea, and went with that one instead. Like,
Right, exactly.
that is really interesting to take the time then to reassess like what is coming into your awareness, and asking like, wait a minute, is that real? Is that real? But
Yeah.
that first step is becoming aware, right? Because if, I mean, there's lots of thoughts that we have, just like you said, thousands and thousands of thoughts that we have a day, and we're not conscious of every single like thought that's coming through in every single moment. That would be so overwhelming. We wouldn't get anything
Yeah.
done.
We're conscious of the tiniest fraction and really just more of the conscious functioning thoughts like, oh, I got to remember to pick up more pasta at the grocery store,
Yeah.
like we're not catching these underlying things of I'm not good at this, or I'm really good at this, or I don't know
Yeah.
how to do that.
Mm,
That
yeah.
might be just like, oh, I'm not good at, blanket statement. It could be everything from, like I said, like math or technical things to socializing or
Mm,
uh, um, learning new
I
things. Like, oh, I'm not really good at learning new things. It could be anything, but we have all these underlying currents of what what we like, what we don't like, what we're good at, what we're not good at, the things we like about ourselves, the things we don't like about ourselves, and they're just going on all the time.
Yeah, and then it's like, how are those really limiting us in our life? I mean, as you were speaking, I was thinking of a thought that I've had of like, oh, I'm just not great at like approaching people. But once I'm in a conversation, I could talk to anybody. But I have this limitation that like, oh, I just can't approach somebody, or it's hard for me. So somebody has to come and like talk to me first. And otherwise, like, but really, like, that's not true. It's just me like repeating that thought in my mind. I could go talk to anybody. I could go up to them and have a conversation. So
It's
it's like,
true as long as you believe it.
right. I could just keep saying, yeah, I'm not good at that, so I don't do it because I'm not good at it. I just, but if I was like, wait, what if I am really good at it? Let me try. Let's see what happens. So if
Right.
like you flip it around, then it's like, what's really possible with
Yeah,
that?
and there's with most things learning curves, so we might
Sure.
not be good at something right off the
Right. Yeah.
bat.
Yeah. That's okay. And that's
There
okay.
might be a period where something feels awkward or we stumble our way through when we're learning something new. That's completely normal. But how are we limiting ourselves by allowing some of these underlying thoughts to continue without starting to bring ourselves into present moment awareness and say, just ask, like, I would like to start to be aware of some of these thoughts that I'm thinking. I would like to
Mhm.
bring them to the surface so they're more seen than unseen.
Right. And then also seeing like, how are they affecting your energy and your mood? I think that's a really key point too, because then then you're asking like, how is it affecting my overall vibration and how I live my life? And we talk a lot about manifestation. So it's like, how is that affecting like what you're manifesting into your life? If you're always self-critical, are you really reaching your highest potential? Or are you just going to keep attracting more reasons to be self-critical because that's the vibration that you're in?
Yeah. The same when you might be receiving inspired ideas about ways that you can step into more purpose or more flow, manifest more things in your life. But if there's an underlying thought that says, oh, I don't know how to do that. I'm not good at that.
Mm.
I don't like trying new things. I don't know.
Whatever it is.
Any number of things that if we're not really noticing those thoughts, those inspirations can just come in and we can negate them before they can ever
Mhm.
really blossom within us.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's so powerful. And really, like, this was a topic that came up for us because, like, we've just been chatting a little bit about it, and like my personal experience recently, I've been doing a Joe Dispenza meditation in the morning, and in there, he's talking about, um, first of all, just tapping into the person that you want to be, so really getting a vision and more of like a feeling, like who is that person that you want to be. But a piece that really stands out to me is he gets to a point where he's talking about or guiding you to check in with, okay, now who do you not want to be anymore? What thoughts are you going to be aware of that will not slip by you, so that you know that that's not who you are anymore. And that stands out to me because I know there are a lot of thoughts that come up in my day that kind of like put me in a lower vibration. And I brought up the self-critical one because personally, I tend to have a lot of self-critical thoughts. And a lot of that has become very habitual and almost slipping under the radar. It just sort of like happens. In the past few days, I've just noticed how often those thoughts are coming to the surface. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like, if I wasn't paying attention, like they would just be there and they could potentially just pull me down into not feeling great at all. And so I've just been aware of that in the past couple of days. I'm like, as soon as they like start to come in, I'm just like, not today. I just, that's not where I don't feel like it. I don't, no, thank you. And then that's actually feeling really good to be able to catch those and be like, that's not who I want to be. That's an old me. And I'm experimenting with not engaging in those thoughts. I mean, experimenting with noticing them and acknowledging them, and then just saying, not today. And then being aware of like what thoughts are coming up that feel really good. I was out for a walk the other day and a thought came up that was just like, I love myself. And it felt authentic. It wasn't just, "Oh, I have to convince myself that I love myself." It was just like, hey, I love myself. Wow, awesome.
Mhm.
Like it just felt so good to have an authentic thought like that come in, especially with this work that I'm doing and really have been doing for some time. My self-love journey has been a long one, but that's an ever evolving process too, right?
Yeah, like you said, it's a journey. So this is all of this work and these practices that we share are part of the journey. So there's no perfect place that we're trying to not be where we are and get to somewhere different. We're
Mm,
really, the goal is to be with where we are, to love where we are as much as we can, to say, this is what is present right now.
yeah.
And who better to love me than me?
Yeah.
So I'm
And why not?
going to, what?
And why not?
Why not?
That's how I feel. It's like, why not love
Yeah.
ourselves
Well, honestly, we are the ones who are with us every
all the time,
step of the way.
every day?
So, so this piece um about being present with our thoughts, I wanted to say that I love that process that you're bringing in of just like, no, thank you, not today, because it's very, a lot of times when we catch a thought like that, it can almost hook us like, oh, there it is. Oh, almost
Mm.
like,
Oh, I'm doing it again.
yes.
Yeah. And being
And so
critical
by
and then being
not,
critical.
right. So it's just layering criticism upon criticism.
Yeah.
So the way you're doing it has so much ease, is what I noticed when you shared that,
Yeah.
that you're not hooking into it in any way. You're just noticing it and being like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Just like someone's passing around a tray of hors d'oeuvres and it's like, oh, you know what? I'm going to pass on that one.
Yeah.
I'd rather see what else might be available.
Maybe there's some nice champagne instead. No, I love that analogy because it does feel more easeful rather than being in this state of like, no, I'm not supposed to think that and trying to like push it away. just being like, nah, no thanks. I'm not really interested in that right now, or I'm choosing not to practice that right now. It's just I'm trying something else. Like for me, that feels very easeful to just
Yeah.
be like, I'm trying something else right now, to see what's possible. If I change, if I really commit to changing, my thoughts and my vibration, what shows up down the line in the physical realm as it catches up to the energy that I've created.
Yeah.
Like, what's possible? Let's see. Like, why not? And also, like, if it comes down to me practicing feeling as good as I can, that also comes in that thought of just like, why not feel as good as I can? I mean, what's holding me back from that? Like, I want to feel as good as I can. Why not practice that as often as I possibly as often as I possibly can? That just sounds like way more fun.
Yeah. And it
Invigorating.
also feels like it frees up a lot of energy, because how much energy does it take for us to be continuing to replay these negative thoughts we have about ourselves or about situations?
Oh
When
man.
we're doing that, everything is energy. Our thoughts are energy. This is proven science. This is not woo woo stuff. That,
Right.
like, our thoughts literally hold energetic charge and
Mhm.
carry a frequency. So when we're thinking negative thoughts, those are running a certain frequency through our bodies. And so
Yeah.
the more we can become present and choose whatever way feels right for us to shift into something else. In the beginning, it might just be noticing. You might just say, I'd like to just notice what's going on in there.
Right. Yeah, just
Just
becoming
out
aware.
of curiosity. And you know
Yes.
what? It's not all bad. Like, there's no reason to shy away from this practice, because you're going to also find thoughts that are really affirming.
Hmm.
So I just caught myself in a thought today that was really positive, and I was like, "Oh, that is
Yes,
a really nice thought about myself."
I love it.
And
It's
I
so
was so
good.
excited because we've been, as Lindsay said, we've been having this conversation, and I think in our conversation, we've been a little bit focused on rewiring some of the negative programming. So I wasn't even really expecting
Mm,
to notice the positive comments, because I was really mostly wondering about what kind of criticisms were going on under the surface for me. So
hmm.
when all of a sudden this really kind, affirming thought came through, I was so tickled. Like, it's the best way I could say it. I was like, oh,
I love it so much. It's like, oh, hey, thank you. Like you're giving yourself a compliment, and then you're like, oh gosh, like I'm
right. Yeah.
blushing.
Like, I actually caught the compliment and was like, oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah. I love that.
Which gives us the chance to reaffirm the positive. Like, there's also positive vibrations happening in there. And so we want to catch those too, and then really affirm those.
Yes. So important. Those ones for sure too. It's like focus on like those good thoughts that are coming up, We deserve to feel good. We deserve to have those like
Yes.
compliments coming up and feeling proud of ourselves, feeling worthy, feeling enough because we are.
Yeah.
We are all those good things. It's
Hmm.
beautiful.
Yeah, doesn't it feel good to hear that? Just as I was hearing you saying just those positive affirmations about us being good and worthy and
Yeah.
valuable. And I was just like feeling, it's just like that just raised my vibration, just hearing that.
Yeah, saying it like makes me feel good. Like in this conversation, as we're like exchanging that, I'm like, "Ooh, I feel uplifted talking about this." And
Yeah.
But I also, yeah, want to bring in too, because we were chatting a little bit about that, it might not always be easy to go from like this difficult space or thought and be like, now I have to think the opposite. Now I have to think on the super high vibe place and I just have to be there. It's not always easy to just, psh, there I am.
Right.
So, like, what becomes like a step forward with that? Like, what will help you feel a little bit better or feel a little bit more like relief from that maybe critical or difficult thought that's not serving you? Um, and I like the example that we were kind of talking about here a little bit ago that you mentioned about waking up and someone who's always just like, oh, I'm so tired every morning. And instead of just being like waking up and being like, no, I'm so energetic and I feel so good, because you might not. You might actually feel tired. And you had a really great affirmation. Do you remember what which one?
Yeah, I said, what if instead of saying something that might feel like a lie to you, like, no, I feel great,
So
you know,
awake, full of
especially
energy.
if you have a pattern of saying something to yourself, maybe for years,
Mm,
it's it's unrealistic to expect that you're just going to transmute that in a day or a week, or be able to jump, like we were saying, to the complete opposite thought. So for someone who wakes up and says, oh, I'm so tired, oh, I hate mornings, the thought might be, I love gentle mornings, I love waking up slowly. And so
mhm,
you're working with your natural system and energy, but you're reframing it a little bit into something that's okay. Well, maybe I don't hate mornings. Maybe I just have been putting an expectation on myself that says, oh, I'm supposed to leap out of bed, you know, with a
love it.
100% energy.
Yeah.
Maybe acknowledge, like, actually, I wake up slow. I love to move slow in the morning. That's
Mhm.
something that's beautiful and unique about me.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
so you're being authentic with yourself when you're creating ways to reframe these thought processes.
Mhm. Yeah, not saying it in that way just feels like, I don't know, so much more gentle, because if we try to jump to the opposite, I think there's room for criticism to come in there too, because we're just like, I can't get there. I can't get to feeling that. I'm lying to myself. It's like, okay, let's take some steps, like the next step forward that feels a little bit better. And that is just
Yes.
such a beautiful way to approach it, because yeah, I think too often we think we're just supposed to, or when someone talks about this sort of like energy, it's not always realistic to go from one end of the spectrum to the other. So just being aware of that and kind to yourself, and seeing what works for you, along the
Yeah.
way. It's like what feels best for you personally.
Yeah. So just like to give another example, going back to what I said earlier with, I used to think like, oh, I'm not good at math.
Mm,
That might have been my experience, like trying math. I might have felt like, oh, I'm not getting it. But instead of saying I'm not good at it, it might just be, I I need more practice at this.
mhm,
I haven't completely learned how to do this thing yet, but I know that I can learn how to do anything that I put my mind to. So
mhm,
if it's something that feels important to you that you're telling yourself, oh, I wish I was good at that, but I'm not, it might just be something that the process got stopped too soon.
mm,
So there might just be a place where you can say, if this is really important to me, I'm going to allow myself the learning process.
Mm.
So that's another way of, you don't just all of a sudden say, okay, well, now I'm going to say I'm good at math.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just going to use that as a positive affirmation because there's there is a gap there, and your body will feel that it doesn't feel true for you. And
Yeah.
so we want to work in shifts that feel, like I said before, authentic.
Yeah. And I think there's a manifestation teacher I follow, and she talks about, I just remember her talking about, kind of an affirmation around just saying, like, it's okay that I'm not there yet. It's okay that I haven't manifested this yet. It's okay that I'm here right now. Like, just bringing in that sense of like ease and relief. Like, it's okay that it hasn't happened yet. And so just knowing that, yeah, I'm okay right now. And I'm going to keep working on this energy. I'm going to keep noticing these thoughts and noticing how those thoughts affect my energy. And I'm going to, as often as possible, choose the ones that make me feel good. And it's okay that I'm in this process because that's part of it.
I love that.
Yeah.
We're always in some kind of process.
Oh, gosh. Yes, we are. But that's like, that's the beauty of the human experience. And when we can look at it that way rather than like, oh, life is hard and everything's so challenging and it's a struggle, it's like, yeah, sometimes things are challenging and sometimes things are a struggle, but we're always on a journey. We're always in a process. And how can we like make the most of it and focus on the forward growth within that? And yeah, and look at it as like, hey, this is what it's like to be human. Wow, what a ride. Sometimes I'm like, ooh, okay, I chose this human thing, huh?
Yes.
It's good stuff though. Yeah, so
Yeah, we just want to bring more awareness to what's arising in our experience. So that's really what this conversation is about. Just asking ourselves, our bodies, our minds to help us become more aware. And just by planting that seed, there's really not a lot else that you need to do. You could
mm,
sit in meditation for 10 minutes and just follow your breath and notice what thought comes up. You can ask in a breath work for more conscious awareness about the thoughts that are arising within you. So there's things like that, but just even asking and saying, I would just like to be more aware of this.
yeah,
And then reminding yourself on a daily basis or whenever it comes to you. It doesn't have to be like a really strict schedule or
no, not
anything,
at
but
all.
you'll just, as you ask for this, notice them arising. If it feels good, you can jot them down just so that you're um, keeping track of what might be arising within you, but just bringing things that are unconscious into our conscious awareness starts to automatically shift them, because
Yeah.
what we're doing is we're bringing them from the unseen to the seen. And what
Hmm.
happens at that point is that a light is being shined on whatever thought this is. So now it's not hidden away anymore. It's been brought into your conscious awareness, and
Hmm.
you get to choose.
Yeah, how
Do
empowering
I
is
want
that?
to keep having this thought? And if you don't, then you're just working with what we've shared with you to either just unhook, no thank you, or create gentle transformational statements.
Mhm.
But there's nothing you really need to worry like, oh no, I've got to get rid of this.
No, no, because
So
that's just adding
let's
resistance and allowing it to grow.
so we're not going to fight against anything that comes up. We're not going to be afraid of anything that comes up. We're just noticing and saying,
Interesting.
interesting.
And
I
staying curious.
don't think that's true.
Yeah. And if enough a thought comes up that you're like, yeah, that's totally true, I encourage you to ask like why, what makes it true? And like
Yes.
come up with some solid evidence as to why that's true, because you might not find any.
And you might also be able to find solid evidence why it's not true.
Ooh, yes. Yeah. I
So
like
there's a
that.
lot of ways to play with this. So we would love to hear from you. Let us know how this is going for you, what's coming up,
Yeah.
and how you're working with the awareness that's arising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so please reach out to us anytime at Luminous Human School on Instagram. We love hearing from you all and just seeing how, these practices are working for you in your life and what your experience is like. It's so fun to connect with you all on this stuff. So yeah, we hope you really enjoyed this conversation and, really got something out of it and it's really serving you in the best way possible. And as always, we absolutely love you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for spending this time with us. We love you so much.